YouTube, what the Gotrek and Felix crap is going on? HeirofCarthage here, and straight off of the tavern onto the battlefield. Here is Gotrek and Felix. Yes, I'm going to be playing some Dawi. I haven't played a ton of multiplayer recently, but I don't play multiplayer often, but when I do, I prefer Gotrek and Felix. Yeah, there we go. Shameful display on my part. But in any case, yes, so I'm going to be playing a little bit of Dawi. You can see I've got a Goblobber back there. I'm actually coming up against the High Elves, and so my thought process here was Felix heals, Gotrek kills, and the Rune Lord helps to control enemies. One big problem when I picked the Rune Lord is I forgot that Wrath and Ruin doesn't actually do direct damage. I mean, it does slow down enemies a lot, but really? CA please? CA please. Just bring back the direct damage. This is one of the few things the dwarves had going for them. They didn't need this. I don't know why in the world you continue to do things that make the dwarves weaker. Now, fortunately, Gotrek and Felix make the dwarves stronger, mostly Gotrek, and their changes to mass make them stronger, and I'll show you a little bit about how this plays out during battle. Now, I am coming up against the High Elves. They could bring any number of builds against me, which include a dragon, and that's why I've brought 2 gyrocopters with Brimstone Gun, and sure enough, there's a princess on a star dragon. She's got 5 spearmen, 2 sword masters of Hoeth, and 2 white lions on either flank for a total of 4. So this is an all-in rush army, not even any magic on the part of the High Elves. And in some ways that kind of can make sense because dwarves are somewhat magic resistant. But don't let that fool you. There's still quite a bit of magic that is pretty good against the dwarves, and I wouldn't underestimate it. Now this princess does have Foe Seeker. With Foe Seeker, she'll be roughly the same speed as my gyrocopters. Without it, she is too slow to catch them. However, she has a bow and can fire while on the move. My gyrocopters don't get the same benefit. Once again, CA please. I don't know why they continue to do small things like that that hold the dwarves back on their only mobile anti-large unit. Seriously, a couple of small changes to the dwarves would be nice. I hate their infantry because it loses to everything. A lot of people seem to be okay with that, and I'm fine. Maybe if they come tweak a few small things like this. Number 1, maybe make the gyrocopters even a hair faster, like 110. And then I think make it where any of the variants can fire while moving would be great. Right now, the only place that's available is on the Skyhammer, or whatever the heck it is, the Gyro Bomber Regiment of Renown. And to be quite frank, that unit absolutely sucks. It's not good for much of anything. Now here, I used my Marked by Ulthar too early, and the dragon's not really in a good position to be affixed, and I didn't couple it with the Wrath and Ruin from my Rune Lord, which would have been ideal, because then the dragon would have been basically sitting still and vulnerable to multiple sources of skirmish fire. So this was a bit of a blunder on my part, and especially right here where the dragon dives in, and I have dragon-back slayers, and they're just like, Air, come on, give us the order, Air, come on, Air, give it, come on, we want to take him, Air, what are you doing? Oh, come on, Air. Yeah, I know, I mismicroed this part. I'll stop making you all watch it. I did manage to keep shooting him with the gyrocopters. I don't know what in the world was going through my head. Did I forget that? It's probably because I knew that this inevitable infantry engagement was coming, and my mind must have been partly on it. I'm going to have to use my Slayers, actually, to hold off the flanks, and I had damaged the dragon quite considerably, and figured that it would run away for a while, and that's indeed what's going to happen. So I'm going to take my front line, actually, here, folks, is just Dwarf Warriors, very weak. I've got 2 warriors with great weapons, and then on the flanks, a couple of more Dwarf Warriors. All I have going for me is defense and armor. Dwarf Warriors are absolutely atrocious in every other respect. Good armor, good leadership, nothing else. Nothing. They're not even immune to psychology, which can be quite handy when you're fighting a dragon. In any case, speaking of, I'm wasting ammo here again, but I do know that in the background the dragon does manage to catch up to my gyrocopters, which is a bit infuriating, as I do believe I had them on an automatic skirmish mode. I could be wrong, though. I don't remember when I set it in the battle. But because of weird charge speed things in Warhammer 2 that have been there since the beginning of the game, that just tends to happen. Now, the dragon's going to unleash a breath attack here momentarily, but I attacked it with the gyrocopters. Didn't actually mean to end up that close to it. This was me attempting to keep the dragon at bay, and it worked momentarily. You saw the dragon queue up the breath attack, but then it was pulled back. So my Goblobber right now is attempting to hit some of these White Lions point blank, but apparently I've got the blind Knight crew running the artillery. The Dragon does put an attack in that hurts the Swordmasters, but unfortunately for me, really hurts the leadership and hit points of my own more than them. And then there's where it would have been handy to have long beards. Not that it would have mattered, they would have died anyway. Over here, Dwarf Skirmishers, speed 33, an elite skirmisher. High Elf, mid-tier infantry, same speed. I mean, I know they have short legs, but CA, please! This is another thing for dwarves. Can you at least make my skirmishers not catchable by heavy infantry? Great axe infantry. They're wearing armor and a big lion skin and carrying a two-handed axe. Can they please be slower than a dwarf with a throwing axe? That'd be great. Let me know what you think of that, CA. Just an idea. Again, it's small things like this, to me, that make the dwarves so frustrating to play as in multiplayer. I know that they're not awful. I know that the dwarves in the hands of good players can do well, but I still just feel like they are lacking a few things. Now, in this case, this is not a good army pick up against what I've come up against. About the only thing I did right here was the gyrocopters with Brimstone Gun. Almost everything else here is a bad pick. Now, that said, my whole Gotrek, Felix, and Runelord thing is working quite well. The amount of kills on these units, the support of the Runelord, the power of Gotrek, and the healing of Felix is basically giving me double the lifespan on my leadership, and the High Elf Infantry, even the Swordmasters of Hoeth, are just getting absolutely pummeled to death by leadership. Now that said, the Runelord is nowhere near the level of Gotrek and Felix. He doesn't really like being in any sort of fight, much less this one. The Runelord is pathetically weak, and they've nerfed all of his runes too, like Wrath and Ruin, that doesn't even do damage anymore, it just slows units down. I guess that's so that you can watch Cetra's Chariot make slower passes through your men with its almost, you know, completely infinite mass chariot, you know, it's like, so it slows it down 72% just so you can watch it still slide through your men slowly and more painfully. I mean, Wrath and Ruin, I get the speed slow, and that does work well on certain units, so it's not completely useless. I just think that without the damaging effect, it makes it a lot more difficult for the dwarves to overcome certain types of heavy infantry builds where they're already severely lacking. Now, what's happened here is that in the midst of this fight, Gotrek gets pinned on to a fleeing unit because I did not have defensive mode engaged, so I end up mismicroing him for a second. The gyrocopters have nearly killed the dragon. She still has 1,200 hit points. One unit of gyrocopters is down, though. She managed to catch up to it. And I've lost a lot of my other stuff in the background. Now, fortunately for me, White Lions, not all that good. 102 of them fell to my Dragonback Slayers. That's a trade I'll take just about any day. And the other White Lions got a fair amount of damage dealt to them. Not a lot, but it was some, at least, by my Slayers. But you can see Gotrek and Felix just pounding away here. 71 on Felix, 110 on Gotrek. And Gotrek's health hasn't even really ticked down because of the presence of Felix. However, my Runelord hasn't been loving life, and rather than just kind of leaving him be and sending in Gotrek as support, I decide to pull him back. Then he gets attacked in the back, and because of the using decisively, he actually routs. So this is turning quite disastrous for me. I've basically got Gotrek and Felix left to fight the better part of a whole army. So they say that these two lads are legendary, and that Gotrek is either the best or the worst Slayer, and I guess we'll get the answer to that question today. I'll let you all answer it in the comments at the end and tell me whether he is indeed the best or the worst. There's still something I find interesting about Gotrek and Felix in terms of how they play in the game. Gotrek costs more by about, what, 300-ish gold? I don't know how much it is when you put all of their abilities on. And he's specifically anti-large. Felix is quite a bit cheaper and specifically anti-infantry. Felix's leadership leaves a lot to be desired in certain cases. If you put one charge on him with a terror-inducing unit, he usually flees. And you can see that even now he's barely holding on because, you know, this fight is quite a bit against him. Gotrek, on the other hand, is unbreakable, so quite understand that he's handling things alright. But even with that specific bonus versus infantry, Felix is an absolute wiener in melee compared to Gotrek. I mean, I don't even see how a 300 cost difference seems fair here. Gotrek is just a really good deal if you're comparing the two. I guess maybe you have to consider part of the cost is Felix's ability to support, because his special ability is certainly not fighting like it is with Gotrek. Now, he is not awful. There are certain situations in which he is quite decent, but when it really comes down to it, and you see that bonus versus infantry, you kind of expect this melee brawl to be his thing, and I would almost expect to see more damage on him, but you just don't. You just don't. Felix won't cut through near as many enemies. Look at this. Over twice the kills on Gotrek, or, well, roughly twice the kills on Gotrek right now, and Felix is taking damage much faster as well, which is weird because he actually has a shield and more melee defense. So I'm really not even sure what that's about. Who knows? Maybe it's the special abilities on Gotrek or something. I don't know what it is, but Felix is getting absolutely waylaid, and he will soon give up and leave the fight, which is bad, because if there was any healing left on Gotrek, it won't be happening anymore. And there was more healing. Even routing, I'm just getting some healing off of him there. Look at that! We get a few last hit points from Felix. What a noble companion. He was sitting there healing me up even while he was routing. I guess as long as he's in melee, that's active. It's another CA, please, though. So, in the meantime, the dragon has spent a significant amount of time chasing my gyrocopters. It did eventually kill them because of the ammo on the bow. And you can see there that Felix is reminded that he is not Gotrek. Indeed. So yes, I think we know which of these two in this legendary duo is the real worker. And it's certainly not Mr. Poet, just writes about things, Felix. Right, Felix, buddy? Seriously, dude, just stay down. Don't. Come on, man. It's just getting embarrassing. Thank you. Just stay down. Pretend you're dead. We know you really are dead, but just keep pretending. We'll act like we care. Now, the better of these two... Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, man. The memory of Felix. Yeah, okay, yeah. So the better of these two characters is still over here engaged in Mortal Kombat. He's very happy. Gotrek is going to finally get to fulfill his Slayer oath and die in combat. He's being poked by a lot of spears, which looks very pleasant. I guess it's a little bit of, you know, end-of-life acupuncture treatment that he's getting here from the High Elves. They look quite skilled in it, actually. Gotrek appears to just, you know, be feeling better and better with every blow that he delivers. I'll go ahead and give you all a look at his hit points. He's got 271 kills, by the way. The guy is an absolute little dwarf beast. Almost said man beast, but we know that's not true. So my Rune Lord regrouped, and of course, since Wrath and Ruin does nothing, he has no prayer whatsoever to defend himself against even a measly unit of spearmen. So the Rune Lord shows that he is now worth virtually nothing. The Rune of Negation may be still worthwhile, but it's pretty expensive and leaves you a Lord that can't fight, worth crap. So I guess his use is potentially slowing down monsters. Whenever you have skirmishers, that would probably be about the only thing a Rune Lord would be good for these days. And arguably, I guess you could try to bring a Rune Smith. Maybe? I don't know. You'd have to figure out the right way. But I definitely feel like the Rune Lord is so unimposing as to almost just not really be much of a threat on the battlefield. Meanwhile, Gotrek is up to his 300th kill. And he's making Ungram quite jealous with this kind of performance. I don't think Ungram could ever dream of pulling off a performance like this. I don't know, maybe he could with Felix healing him for this long. We'd have to test that. I don't remember which one costs more. I want to say Ungram, maybe a hair. I could be wrong. Actually, I think Gotrek's just a bit more. Both of them are very good at killing monsters if your opponent can't get that monster away from the Dwarf Lords. That is still the big downside to these Dwarf Lords. They really do fight better in a one-on-one if you just leave them sitting there. But a lot of people just don't leave these big monsters sitting there. They charge in, they put a crap load of damage on you, and then they just move away. And there's nothing you can do about it because you have an infantry lord that can't even get through a few measly spearmen. So it shows you the inherent weakness of having a Lord on foot versus one that is gigantic and monster focused. Now, fortunately for me, the couple of hits that Gotrek got in were enough to send the Star Dragon packing with 600 hit points, but unfortunately for me, Gotrek is down to roughly the same number of hit points, just a little bit more. But he does manage to rout these spearmen. However, the dragon's back, and there are more spearmen over here. Gotrek is determined to fulfill his oath, and I'm kind of thinking he probably will. When that princess charges, if it gets another charge, surely it will kill Gotrek, along with the help of these spearmen. So I'm actually going towards the dragon. 2 reasons why. If I brace, I have expert charge defense, and 2, I'm hoping the leadership of the dragon drops near Gotrek. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but I'm just trying whatever I can. You can see it did work. The dragon broke, at least for the moment, and I'm able to come over here and start fighting these spears for free. I'll let you all kind of keep an eye. You can see the dragon is back now. I was thinking about working around the flank of these spearmen, but then they start chasing. So with the dragon back, I don't really have a lot of great options. I'm going to try and put enough distance between me and the spearmen to be braced. I'm pretty sure it doesn't count as braced if I get attacked in the back by the spearmen. I think I have to actually be sitting still. But that just gives me expert charge defense. It doesn't mean that you're going to not take any damage on the charge. So I'm going to attempt to brace here. I know the dragon's going to charge me. Unfortunately, the spearmen are close behind, and I'm going to be charged in the back by them right before the dragon charges. You can see a little green puff there. That's actually a special ability by Gotrek, where he gets to replenish some hit points. So my healing is now suddenly done. So I did regain a bunch of hit points. The dragon gets bested in combat there and actually killed by Gotrek. And now with 500 hit points, Gotrek is left with some spearmen. What do you think, folks? Is he going to be disappointed again, unable to fulfill his oath, unable to die, living up to the legend that we all knew in lore, that Gotrek just doesn't die? Or does he die here, and then Felix isn't even here to write about it because he's dead on the ground nearby? Well, I suppose you'll just have to see. This guy's going to have so many spear holes in him, it's not even funny. So you can see here, Gotrek down to 331 hit points, but I did have Gotrek's Doom, which gives me ridiculous defense and damage reduction, so Gotrek is indeed the worst Slayer in Warhammer. He doesn't die. He doesn't die in combat. He gets you 355 kills and lives. And Felix, meanwhile, full of dragon claw marks on his back and no doubt having to stuff his entrails back in, looking for the nearest dwarf healer who will no doubt just pour ale into his open cavities, is going to have to try and write the story about this one. Why don't you all try and do it? Down in the chat. Write up the story here, the legendary heroics of Gotrek in the battle, who almost got to fulfill his oath, but the High Elves just couldn't quite get it done here. High Elves, please. Anyway, thanks to NY Strom there. He said he had played me before, said he was a viewer, so it was awesome to get a chance to play with him. A couple things here. He was honestly probably being a little nice here. He totally could have cycle charged me with that dragon, and he didn't. And that was a very honorable move by him, albeit unnecessary. It's certainly an advantage you can push in these battles, because there's nothing that's stopping you. So I would say that was very sporting of him, and I appreciate the sport of it, but he probably could have pulled that away and won had he done a bit more of that with the dragon. However, we did do a pretty significant amount of damage to his dragon, so it was certainly part of the reason why it died in the end, and he may not have known about Gotrek's special ability there at the end, so that also may have caught him off guard. It definitely saved him, or in this case, did it ruin it? You all tell me what you think. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you all soon.